Now watch me.
Hello guys and welcome to this next tutorial. Today you will learn how to make a shockwave 3D in Blender without having to use any third-party plugins. So let's take a look at what I have already here. So I made a simple camera animation and we want to add a shockwave in it. And now if we use the, like I would say, normal compositing with just the shockwave imported as an image sequence and then add it to the smoke, then it will look like this. So you can see there is the shockwave, but it seems to be very weird in some way and it is not like moving with the camera. And yeah, to change this you have to make the shockwave 3D tracked, and so the simplest way to make this is to add a new scene. Let's call this shockwave and then go back to your text scene. Select the camera and all its empties which it is parented to, and press Ctrl and L and link those objects to your shockwave scene. Yeah. Now in your shockwave scene you should have your camera and of course the same scene set up. Now this scene is a bit longer but doesn't matter much. So yeah, we have the same camera animation and this is our shockwave. And as you can see, it's already swapped to Blender render, and yeah, it should be on cycles. If it is on cycles, I recommend using Blender render because this is slightly faster for rendering this. Yeah, and now we have to import our image. In this case it is the shockwave, which is actually a movie, but Blender counts it as an image. We have to add this as a plane, and to make this easier for you, you can go into the user preferences and search for images, and then you will just see this import images as planes plugin. Activate it, click save user settings and go back into the 3D viewport. Now add an image as a plane and then select your shockwave. And now if you go into the material settings and in the material tab, in the properties, you can check shadeless under shading. Now it will emit light, so it is rendered without having to use any lights in the scene. Now you can just rotate it and move it back a bit and then make it fit into your camera. Now I want the shockwave to start at frame 40, so scale it up so that you won't see much of the edges, because otherwise you will see those edges later. And now we have to do some tweaking in the texture panel. First click under image. You can find this button match movie length. Click this and now you can already see that if you scroll in the timeline you can see the shockwave being animated. but I wanted to start at frame 50 and not at frame 1, and for this you have this sweet button where you can just type in the frame number where it should start. And now if you take a look at it, it has the shockwave starting at frame 40. So this is what the shockwave will look like. I'm gonna scale it up slightly more. So this edge doesn't matter, because if you add like black bars it won't be shown. And yeah. And to accelerate the rendering, I will start scaling it from frame 40 where it starts the shockwave. I'm gonna set a scaling keyframe, go one frame back and put the scaling all the way down to 0. So if you render this, there's nothing, and you see it is about 0.1 second fast. So with an image it takes about 7 times as much. So yeah, this will just speed up your render, and then look where the shockwave ends. I think at this frame. Add another scaling keyframe, go one frame forward and scale it down to 0 again, so you don't waste your time rendering a black plane. Now if we go into the text layer, in the node editor, I still have this shockwave thingy, so I'm gonna delete it and add another render layer. Use the shockwave layer, then use a color mix node to add the shockwave to your smoke layer. And now we go, let's take frame 48. I'm gonna turn down the sampling to make this faster, 5 samples. It will look really noisy, but it's okay for this because it's just to show you how it will work. Here it's rendering the shockwave. And yeah, you can go into node editor, then you can add like some glare. Use RGB curves to make it, in this case I will use an orange color. Maybe it's a bit too bright, so you can turn that down till it looks good. Yeah. So that's it. And so if you take a look at this, this is the result, and yeah, I added some simple glare nodes and stuff to make it look a bit better. And yeah, that's it. See you in the next tutorial. Bye.